First contact and invasion. The night sky above Seattle glowed with an unnatural purple hue as Dr. Elise Chen stared through her telescope. What had begun as routine observations of a newly discovered comet had quickly turned into something far more alarming. The comet wasn't a comet at all. It was moving against the gravitational pull, adjusting its trajectory in ways that defied natural explanation. "Marcus, are you seeing this?" she called to her research partner, her voice tight with concern. Marcus Okafor looked up from his computer terminal, his eyes widening as he studied the feed from the observatory's main telescope. "That's impossible," he whispered. "It's decelerating." Neither of them spoke the word that hung in the air between them. Spacecraft. Within hours, observatories around the world confirmed what Elise and Marcus had discovered. The object was massive, approximately 3 kilometers in length, and it was heading directly for Earth. Military channels worldwide erupted with activity, but no one knew what to do. Humanity had never faced anything like this before. The world watched in collective terror as the massive vessel settled into orbit around Earth. For 3 days, it remained silent, motionless. Global leaders attempted communication, broadcasting messages of peace in every conceivable format. The military forces of major powers mobilized, though everyone knew their weapons would likely be useless against visitors capable of interstellar travel. On the 4th day, they responded. The message was broadcast simultaneously on every electronic device on Earth, in every language, the alien technology seamlessly translating their communication. "People of Earth, we are the Nexeri Collective. Your world has been selected for assimilation into our empire. Resistance is unnecessary and will only lead to increased suffering. Surrender your governments and resources within one planetary rotation, or face eradication." The world erupted into chaos. Some nations immediately surrendered. Others, led by a coalition of major powers, refused to capitulate without a fight. Elise and Marcus, along with their entire research team, were quickly conscripted into a hastily assembled scientific task force to analyze the alien technology. They never got the chance. The Nexeri response to humanity's defiance was swift and devastating. Smaller craft, each about the size of a commercial airliner, deployed from the mothership. They targeted military installations first, wiping out Earth's defensive capabilities with weapons that seemed to distort reality itself. Buildings didn't explode, they simply ceased to exist, leaking perfect spherical voids where solid matter had been moments before. Within hours, the world's major capitals were in ruins. Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, London, all reduced to smoking craters. The death toll was catastrophic, with millions perishing in the first wave of attacks alone. Elise survived by pure chance. She had been in an underground research facility when the attacks began. Marcus wasn't so lucky. He had left to check on his family when the first Nexeri craft hit Seattle. She would never see him again. As the dust settled on the first day of what would later be called the eradication, Elise found herself among the survivors in a makeshift bunker beneath the ruins of the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Military personnel, scientists, and civilians huddled together, listening to the crackling radio reports of devastation from around the world. "They're establishing landing zones," a soldier reported, his voice tight with controlled panic. "Taking over major industrial centers. Anyone who resists is gone." Colonel Sarah Reeves, the highest-ranking military officer in the bunker, stood up. She was a weathered woman in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat even before the invasion. "We need information," she said firmly. "These things bleed, they die. I've seen it. We need to know how to hurt them." "I might be able to help with that," Elise said, stepping forward. "I'm a xenobiologist. Before the attack, I was studying their broadcast signals. There's something about their biology. It's not like anything we've seen before." The survivors organized quickly. Those with military experience formed defense teams. Engineers worked to restore power and communications. Scientists like Elise analyzed whatever data they could gather about the invaders. Through covered observations and recovered footage, they learned that the Nexeri weren't the monstrous creatures many had imagined. They were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors in response to their environment. Their 4 arms ended in 6-fingered hands capable of incredible precision. Their oversized eyes, adapted for the dim light of their homeworld, were vulnerable to intense light pulses. "They're not invincible," Elise explained 2 weeks after the initial attack. The bunker had expanded into a full resistance hub, connecting with other survivor groups through a makeshift network. Their exoskeletons are tough, but they have vulnerabilities. Their respiratory system can't filter certain toxins, and they're highly sensitive to specific electromagnetic frequencies. Colonel Reeves nodded grimly. "Then we have a chance. Not much of one, but a chance." The resistance grew slowly but steadily. Survivors learned to avoid detection by the Nexeri's advanced sensors by staying underground and moving only at night. They salvaged what they could from abandoned military bases and laboratories, sometimes even managing to recover damaged alien technology. 3 months after the invasion, they had their first major victory. A small team led by Elise and a former Special Forces operative named David Chen infiltrated a Nexeri processing facility in what had once been Portland. Their mission was to gather intelligence and, if possible, capture alien technology for study. What they found horrified them. The facility was processing humans, thousands of them, suspended in translucent pods filled with a viscous blue fluid. The Nexeri weren't just conquering Earth, they were harvesting its population. "They're extracting something from them," Elise whispered, studying the facility's control interfaces. "Neurochemicals, specific proteins. They're treating us like a resource." David's face hardened. "Not anymore." The team planted improvised explosives throughout the facility. As they prepared to escape, they were discovered. In the ensuing firefight, David was seriously wounded, but he managed to detonate the charges remotely as the team retreated. The explosion could be seen for miles, a brilliant blue-white flash that momentarily turned night into day. The Nexeri response was immediate and brutal. Assault craft swarmed the area, vaporizing everything in their path as they searched for the attackers. But the resistance had already disappeared into the network of underground tunnels and bunkers that now served as humanity's last refuge. And they had brought with them something invaluable: a partially intact Nexeri neural interface and a wounded alien soldier. For the first time, humanity had captured one of the invaders alive. The captive Nexeri, which they designated Subject Alpha, was kept sedated while Elise and the other scientists studied it. Through careful analysis of its brain patterns and attempts to interface with its neural technology, they made a startling discovery. "They're a hive mind," Elise explained to Colonel Reeves and the other resistance leaders. "Not completely. They maintain individual consciousness, but they're connected to a central network. It's how they coordinate so effectively." "Can we use that against them?" Reeves asked. Elise nodded slowly. "I think so. Their neural interfaces are designed to filter and process information from the collective. If we could introduce a virus, a digital one, targeting their network, we might be able to disrupt their coordination." It was a desperate plan, but it was more hope than they'd had in months. Teams were assembled, drawing on the expertise of surviving computer scientists, engineers, and military tacticians. Using the captured technology, they began to develop a virus that would target the Nexeri collective consciousness. But time was running out. The Nexeri were expanding their control, establishing permanent structures across the planet. Rumors spread through the resistance network of massive excavation projects, of resources being stripped from the Earth at an alarming rate. And then came the news that changed everything. The Nexeri weren't alone. A second massive vessel had entered the solar system. The resistance braced for the arrival of reinforcements, knowing that if more Nexeri joined the invasion, humanity's chances of survival would drop from slim to none. But as the new vessel approached Earth, something unexpected happened. It attacked the Nexari mothership. The battle in orbit was visible from the ground, flashes of light that turned the night sky into a canvas of destruction. The Resistance watched in confused awe as the two alien forces tore into each other with weapons beyond human comprehension. "What's happening?" David asked, still recovering from his wounds. Elise shook her head, her eyes fixed on the spectacle above. "I don't know, but I think we might have allies." As debris from the orbital battle began to rain down on Earth, the Resistance prepared for a new phase of the war. Whatever was happening above them, one thing was clear: humanity had been given a second chance. And this time, they were ready to fight. The Resistance rises. The orbital battle lasted for 3 days. From their underground bunkers, humanity watched as the two alien forces decimated each other in a conflict that spanned the Earth's atmosphere. When it was over, both massive vessels were crippled, drifting in space like wounded beasts. The Nexari forces on Earth were thrown into disarray, cut off from their mothership, their hive mind fractured into regional networks. They became more aggressive, more desperate in their attacks on known human settlements. But the Resistance was prepared. Under Colonel Reeves' leadership, they had spent the chaos of the orbital battle preparing for this moment. Strike teams moved swiftly, targeting isolated Nexari outposts with weapons specifically designed to exploit the aliens' vulnerabilities. Elise had been instrumental in developing these countermeasures. Working with a team of engineers, she had created light-based weapons that overloaded the Nexari's sensitive visual receptors and sonic devices that disrupted their neural connections. "We're not just fighting back anymore," Elise told the assembled Resistance leaders 6 months after the invasion. "We're winning." The arrival of the second alien species, which they now knew called themselves the Arvani, had changed everything. The Arvani were ancient enemies of the Nexari, having fought them across multiple star systems. When they detected the Nexari invasion of Earth, they had pursued them, intent on preventing their rivals from gaining another foothold in the galaxy. With the Nexari mothership disabled, a delegation of Arvani had made contact with the Resistance. Unlike the Nexari, who viewed humans as resources to be harvested, the Arvani recognized humanity's potential. They offered an alliance, Arvani technology in exchange for human assistance in defeating their common enemy. The alliance was not without controversy. Many in the Resistance, including Colonel Reeves, were wary of trusting any alien species. "How do we know they won't turn on us once the Nexari are gone?" Reeves demanded during a heated strategy session. The Arvani representative, a being named Karas who communicated through a translation device, responded with surprising candor. "You don't, but we have fought the Nexari for generations. We have seen them destroy worlds, consume entire civilizations. We have no desire to do the same." In the end, necessity overcame caution. The Arvani provided the Resistance with technology that allowed them to detect Nexari communications and disrupt their remaining network. In return, the humans offered their knowledge of Earth's terrain and resources, as well as their increasingly effective guerrilla tactics. David Chen, fully recovered from his wounds, led a joint human Arvani strike team that specialized in capturing Nexari technology. During one mission, they discovered something that would change the course of the war. "It's a terraforming device," Elise explained, studying the captured Nexari technology. "They're not just harvesting humans. They're preparing to remake Earth to suit their biology." The revelation galvanized the Resistance. What had begun as a fight for survival became a race against time to prevent the complete transformation of their homeworld. Across the globe, humans and Arvani worked together to locate and destroy the Nexari terraforming equipment. The battles were fierce, with heavy casualties on both sides. The Nexari, sensing their vulnerability, fought with increasing desperation, deploying weapons that could level entire cities. But humanity had learned from their initial defeats. They no longer met the Nexari in direct confrontation, instead using hit-and-run tactics that exploited the aliens' weaknesses. The underground network of bunkers and tunnels that had once been a refuge became a strategic advantage, allowing resistance forces to move unseen beneath Nexari-controlled territory. 1 year after the invasion, the tide of the war had definitively turned. The resistance had grown from scattered survivors into a global army, equipped with hybrid technology that combined human ingenuity with Arvani science. The final battle for Earth began at dawn on the anniversary of the invasion. The target was the Nexari's primary control center, established in the ruins of what had once been Beijing. From this fortress, the remaining Nexari commanders coordinated their forces and controlled the terraforming process. The assault was led by Colonel Reeves, with Elise and David providing tactical support from the Resistance's mobile command center. Arvani ships provided air support, engaging the Nexari defenses while human ground forces infiltrated the complex. Remember, Elise told the strike teams over the secure communication channel, "Your primary objective is to deploy the virus in their central neural hub. Everything else is secondary." The virus was the culmination of months of work by Elise and a team of human and Arvani scientists. It was designed to infiltrate the Nexari network and trigger a cascade failure, effectively lobotomizing their collective consciousness. The battle was the most intense of the war. The Nexari, sensing the existential threat, committed all their remaining forces to the defense of their control center. The sky above Beijing, filled with craft from both sides, energy weapons carving trails of destruction through the air. On the ground, human soldiers fought alongside Arvani allies, pushing through the Nexari defenses meter by bloody meter. The resistance had developed armor that could withstand glancing blows from Nexari weapons, but direct hits were still fatal. David led the infiltration team, guiding them through the labyrinthine complex toward the central hub. They encountered heavy resistance, losing half their team in the process. When they finally reached their target, they found it guarded by a contingent of Nexari commanders, their iridescent skin pulsing with agitation. "We're pinned down," David reported over the comms. "Can't reach the hub." Colonel Reeves' voice came back, calm despite the sounds of battle in the background. "Hold position. Reinforcements are on the way." The reinforcements arrived in the form of a breaching charge that blew a hole in the ceiling above the hub. Through the opening dropped a team of Arvani commandos, their 4 arms wielding weapons that fired concentrated pulses of light. In the chaos that followed, David and his remaining team members fought their way to the neural hub. It was a massive crystalline structure, pulsing with energy that controlled the Nexari network across the planet. With trembling hands, David attached the virus delivery system to the hub. "Package is in place," he reported, initiating upload. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the complex, Nexari soldiers began to convulse, their coordinated movements dissolving into spasms. Some collapsed entirely, while others lashed out blindly, firing at allies and enemies alike. "It's working," Elise breathed, watching the tactical display as Nexari signatures across the globe began to flicker and fade. "The virus is spreading through their entire network." The victory was not without cost. Nearly half of the assault force was lost in the battle, including Colonel Reeves, who had led a desperate charge to draw Nexari forces away from David's team. But as the dust settled on the ruins of Beijing, the survivors knew they had won. In the months that followed, humanity and their Arvani allies hunted down the remaining Nexari forces. Without their network to coordinate them, the aliens were isolated and vulnerable. Many were captured alive, providing valuable intelligence about Nexari technology and their empire beyond Earth. The Arvani, true to their word, did not attempt to conquer Earth once the Nexari were defeated. Instead, they offered to help humanity rebuild, providing technology and resources in exchange for an alliance that would strengthen both.